Warning, the following video may contain sequences which some viewers may find disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
What would you say is the most bizarre reason for a murder you have ever heard? Or maybe just a death in general? Would it be a miscalculation? An overdose on something simple? A defective mechanism like a faulty brake on a vehicle? Someone taking nasty fall on a bike maybe? Or maybe someone doing something ridiculous, such as what happened in 1998 when Eric Garcia died while trying to bungee jump off a 70-foot bridge with a cord that he measured himself to be just under 70 feet, without accounting for the fact that bungee cords stretch. Or in 1995 when a daredevil named Robert tried to ride his jet ski off Niagara Falls with a parachute, without accounting for the fact that parachutes won't deploy if wherever it's being held gets filled with water. Or maybe you're thinking about the case of Alexei and Luda, when Luda was killed by her brother Alexei over a tablet she was studying on. What's the point of saying all this? People have died and will most likely continue to die, for bizarre reasons. And the murder we are about to discuss today is bizarre, yes, but like in the case with Alexei and Luda, is also a tragedy that really shows what this generation has come to. Today, we discuss the case of when Kevon Watkins, age 16 at the time, killed his 19-year-old sister Alexis over a Wi-Fi password. It happened on the evening of February 2nd, 2018. Kevon had apparently been playing online with his Xbox. However, when there are many devices are connected to a router, depending on how good your internet speed is, your game may start to lag. As any online game needs a considerable amount of internet speed to run smoothly most of the time. It would seem that this is what began to happen. Kevon's game started lagging. For those who don't know, lagging is when your game sputters. Think of it like this. You're watching TV and it starts sticking in certain spots and playing well in others. That's lagging. Now it would seem like Kevon just wasn't in the mood to just turn the game off and play some other time. He changed the Wi-Fi password instead. In doing so, he basically kicked everyone that was currently using the Wi-Fi off the service, and he now had it exclusively to himself. Kevon, besides his sister, also lived with his younger brother and mother. His younger brother, who was 13 at the time, complained to their mother that Kevon had changed the password. His mother responded by unplugging the router, thus taking away the internet completely. Kevon then responded by getting angry. Very angry. He stormed into his mother's room and started grabbing at something that might have been the cord for the router. This is where things begin to get dicey. An argument followed, and his mother was about to take his game away. Alexis then came into the room after hearing the commotion, and she grabbed Kevon. Kevon then seemed as if he was going to hit his mother. Alexis then hit Kevon in an attempt to stop him from doing what she thought he was about to do. Then they began fighting. It started on the bed, then moved to the floor. All the while their mother, Latoya, thought it was just a normal fight between siblings, because apparently this wasn't something odd to happen between the two. In fact, later on in interviews, Kevon stated that he and his sister fought almost every day. But at some point she realized this wasn't a regular fight. Kevon had put Alexis in a chokehold, and he was not letting go. Alexis had stopped struggling, but still, Kevon was continuing, and would not stop. His younger brother and mother tried to separate the two, but they couldn't. The 13-year-old tried pushing his older brother off of Alexis, but he failed. This is when the police was called. The police arrived about 10 minutes after the call, and when they got there, Kevon was still choking his sister. He only let go after the police told him to do so. Alexis dropped to the floor. Latoya told her to get up. Alexis showed no signs of moving. The responding officers tried to save her by performing CPR. But it was too late. She was pronounced dead at the hospital hours later. The cause of death was strangulation. Kevon's sentencing happened when he was 18. He was found guilty of murder and was given a life sentence. Kevon's lawyer tried to appeal that Kevon should be guilty of voluntary manslaughter rather than a murder charge. However, remember we said earlier that Kevon's brother tried to push him off his sister, but he wouldn't let go. Furthermore, it was said that during the time the police took to get there, which was 10 minutes, Alexis had already stopped moving. But it is likely that Kevon was too angry to have noticed. Regardless, choking someone for an estimated 15 minutes is not something you do, period. That was not voluntary manslaughter, it was murder, and the judge explained that. Kevon cried along with the remainder of his family when the verdict was given. He stated that he never meant to kill her. But not meaning to do something doesn't change the reality of what happened. He strangled his own sister, and now he had to pay the consequences for it. He was given the chance to speak before being taken away, but through his tears the only thing anyone could understand was him saying, "I'm sorry." The judge said something interesting afterward, however, and what she said opened up some theories as to what really went wrong that day. The judge told Kevon that she is sorry that the adults in his life let him down, and did not discipline or give him tools for him to deal with his anger. What she said here actually makes a lot of sense. LaToya stated that on the day the incident happened, Kevon was in a bad mood from the time he got home. Maybe something happened at school and he did not want to be bothered. Which is why he changed the password so he could drown himself out in his game, trying to forget whatever put him in a sour mood to begin with. Now, before we go any further, what Kevon did was not justified by any means. Taking your sister's life because you wanted to play a game in solitude is not, and will never be okay or acceptable to do. We are simply trying to analyze what went down, and how Kevon reached the point of killing his own sister the way he did. Now that that's said, let's continue. When his method of coping was taken away, it caused whatever frustrations he had to be directed at the wrong people. His family, causing him to take the life of his sister, something he can never, ever reverse. Based on the judge's statements, as well as the statements of the family themselves, Kevon had anger problems. And it was no secret. If you recall earlier, LaToya stated that fighting was not something unusual for them. Furthermore, Kevon himself said he and his sister used to fight almost every day. This was not new. So if Kevon and his family knew that he had issues with his anger, why was nothing done? Well, sadly, that's just one of the realities of the world we live in. A lot of times things like these get swept under the rug, and something is only done when a drastic catalyst pushes one to action. Realistically speaking, anger issues are something most families just expect you to grow out of. Nowadays especially, it's not uncommon to find a child screaming at their parents over simple things. To be fair, most times people do grow out of it. The emotions of a teenager tend to be stronger than that of someone who is fully mature. And now, with mental illnesses such as being bipolar or having dissociative identities becoming more prevalent within teens, anger is something that gets magnified immensely and easily. But as the teen matures, a lot of times they learn to control and regulate their emotions, therefore they get their anger in check. Kevon, as far as we know, does not suffer with any of these. However, he did have anger issues, and steps should have been taken to help him cope in less destructive ways. Had that happened, Kevon wouldn't be in jail, and Alexis would still be here. Anger is not something that should be left alone. It's an active emotion. By active, I mean it's an emotion that drives people to do things. In a bout of rage, one could beat someone up, shout, throw a tantrum, break things, say abusive words, and in some cases, yes, even kill. If someone shows signs of anger issues, it should not be ignored. I'm sure the Watkins family would have done things differently if given the chance. And it is sad that a lot of times for people to get the point, something as tragic as this needs to happen. Again, what Kevon did is not justified. What he did was not acceptable at all. It was selfish for him to just prioritize a video game and take away a luxury that was meant to be shared among his family. It is not okay to have a bad day at school and lash out on your family members who had nothing to do with it. It is not okay to attempt or make it seem like you would hit your own mother. And it is certainly not okay to put your sister in a chokehold and choke her out for over 15 minutes. Nothing Kevin did was right, and his actions throughout that evening just progressed from bad to worse. But at the same time, you can flip that coin and see that Kevin was someone who needed help, but never got it. And because of this he lashed out, and what happened after resulted in his sister losing her life, and him losing his freedom to live his own life outside the confines of prison walls. We could all learn something from this. If you are a parent, and you see signs of anger problems within your children, don't ignore it. If you have a friend that shows signs of anger problems, try to help. And if you know you have anger issues, seek help. Because you never know what you could do when your anger is doing the thinking. You don't know who you could end up hurting. And you don't know what the consequences may be.